You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Hello, and thanks for joining Revolution 250, where we look at events that took place 250 years ago this week. This is from the American Revolution Podcast, a short bonus episode to remind you about these important anniversaries from the Revolutionary War. This week, we remember Royal Governor Tryon's flight from New York on October 19, 1775. During the fall of 1775, local hostility to British rule was growing across the American colonies. They spent much of the time tossing out royal governors and taking control of the various colonies through improvised provincial congresses. New York was no exception to this. In the days following Lexington and Concord, local members of the Sons of Liberty had seized cannons and military supplies in New York City. Much of the rest of the state fell under Patriot control pretty quickly, but in the city, they were in contention with several hundred regulars who were also stationed in the city and who were protected by the guns of the British Navy in ships in New York Harbor. Governmental control of the city, as I said, remained in contention. Royal Governor William Tryon had taken a trip to London, leaving in 1774. He was still away when the Patriots took control of the colony. Unlike New England, New York still had a pretty vocal and active Loyalist faction during the summer of 1775. Governor Tryon returned to a divided New York City on June 25th of that year. That same day, General Washington also arrived in New York City on his way to Boston to take command of the Continental Army. Both men received separate welcoming committees. Tryon realized that he had lost political control, but he attempted to serve the king as best he could. He remained in the city, but under constant protection from a small detachment of regulars. Tryon himself was a British officer with combat experience from the 7 Years' War. He had also been governor of North Carolina, where he crushed the Regulator movement in 1771 at the Battle of Alamance. It was shortly after that incident that he was promoted to governor of New York. On his return to New York City in 1775, Tryon remained in residence in the city, but as I said, with a constant guard of British regulars to protect him and his home. He'd given up control on the rest of the state, but he spent the summer and early fall trying to stop Patriot attacks and seizures within the city. On July 20th, Patriots under the command of radical New York leader Isaac Sears seized the contents of the Royal Armory at Turtle Bay. They removed the munitions to Connecticut for use in the Patriot cause. This raid was an embarrassment to the Royal Navy that was still sitting in New York Harbor at the time. The British went on alert for future Patriot efforts to seize munitions. Even so, on August 23rd, another raiding party, under orders from the New York Provincial Congress, attempted to take control of 21 cannons from the battery stationed at the southern tip of Manhattan, modern-day Battery Park. British troops exchanged fire, with one British regular killed. The Navy ship Asia fired several broadsides at the raiders. The cannon fire damaged several buildings in Manhattan, resulting in many New Yorkers fleeing the city. They feared it would become more of a battlefield in the future, and they were not wrong. About the same time, the Continental Congress ordered the arrest of any royal officials who refused to support the Patriot cause. The New York Provincial Congress refused to arrest Governor Tryon. Although Patriots controlled the city, they feared that the Navy would level the city if they kidnapped the royal governor. Governor Tryon stuck it out until October, when he finally accepted that remaining in the city was just too risky. Responding to imminent threats to his safety, he took refuge in New York Harbor on October 19th. Tryon first went aboard the British sloop Halifax, but soon transferred to the larger and more comfortable ship, the Duchess of Gordon. He remained on board, attempting to perform his duties as governor and receiving Loyalist guests. Tryon would sit in New York Harbor until the British invasion the following year. While remaining in the harbor, Governor Tryon and Mayor David Matthews hatched a plot to kill or kidnap George Washington as the Continental Army occupied and built defenses in the city, expecting a large British attack. When the British fleet finally did arrive in late 1776, Tryon could once again return to the city with General William Howe and tens of thousands of British regulars that occupied New York. I originally covered this event and the removal of other colonial governors in episode 70 of the American Revolution podcast. You can access this episode at blog.amrevpodcast.com. I also encourage you to subscribe for free on whatever podcast platform you like. It's great to listen from the beginning and all the way through. Thanks for listening to this Revolution 250 moment on the American Revolution podcast.